That's like 12 in the morning. And you already starting to do that screen recording? Okay. Y'all better put this food up. Get something. Get something. Y'all managed to get food on the floor and then just leave it.
Got 9 in them buildings, that's a tough spot. Oh, Rollin.
My granny told me get a job, I take the fast route. Young niggas jumped inside the streets and took the cash route.
Hey, where beef for Avalon, beef for us?
Period. 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 That's the A trade say. Where beef with the A's at period.
And we just inherited this trader beef.
When I walk through, it's nice shit rollin'. Ay, DNA Crip, ay, blowin' my side, it's spoken.
Rap news, street politics, the best hood channel on YouTube, and we back on the west side of South Central about to speak on the hood that's controlling one of the largest territories in the city, West Side Harlem 30s, DNA Crip. Now Harlem is a hood that goes by many different names and has kind of played many different roles in the city over the years, but they've controlled this same area between Crenshaw and Normandy and Jefferson and King since the early 70s. But this area has been heating up with the gunplay, with 5 people being shot in a 7-day span this month alone. It was a triple shooting at a bus stop on King and a double shooting on Western and Exposition, where one dude ended up losing his life in this situation. But the 30 section has always been active. Now some people may refer to them as the Harlems or OHC, Original Harlem Crip, the Rollin 30s, or the Dirt Gang. Now the Dirt Gang really came from the Dirty 30s, which is not a diss to the Harlems. You know, I really see older people using that term Dirty 30s to refer to these dudes, but they still rep the Dirt Gang. And some other terms that we've heard become synonymous with this hood is ASM, NSA, and DNA. So DNA is gonna be just that, the makeup of this hood. Dinker Park, the 9 or 39th Street, and the avenues. Now 39th Street is gonna be really arguably one of the most notorious sections over here. Everybody know the 9, but the Dinker Park Highheads and the avenues also have reputable members that come out of them sections as well. But like I said, one of the most notable is gonna be the 9. Now NSA and ASM, those are gonna be kind of newer terms that have really been associated with the Harlem. I would say within the last 10, maybe 15 years, those terms have really become popularized over here in this section. Now they are derogatory, so I'm not just gonna say them outright, but this is really what the Harlems push and what they've been known for over the years, really beefing with all the Bloods.
I already talked about it. The reason why I'm really viral is because of the ASM shit. I have a real controversial ass name. ASM is real controversial. So that, first of all, that draws attention. And it wouldn't be no that if it wasn't for, it wouldn't be no ASM if it wasn't for no NSA. I'm just saying it like that. ASM, NSA, that's the same thing. So I can't be ASM if I'm not NSA, and I can't be NSA if I'm not from Harlem, because we're NSA type shit.
You know, some of their members claim to be the only Crip hood that beef with all the Bloods in the city. And we know they surrounded by Bloods. To the west, they got the Jungles. North, they got the Biddy Stones and the Rollin 20s. And to the east of them, they got the Fruittown Brims. But we gotta speak on some Crip on Crip beef that the Harlems have also been known to take part in. We're gonna speak on their beef with the Hoovers, which has been said to be like an on, off, and on again type thing. They have went to war with the 40s, and they've went to war with the Avalons as well. But some other allies that they have in this section, of course, they are allied with the 40s. We're gonna speak on the fallout and the comeback of their relationship with the 40s. And we know since they're part of the O-Car with the Rich Rollin, we see them for sure being tight-knit with the 30s to the 100s. Now, one thing everybody knows, the 30s are not neighborhood. But as of today, this may be the closest they've been since their inception to being considered a part of the neighborhood car. And the set that they share their hood with is gonna be West Side ATC, Alley Tiny Criminals. Now, the Harlems is gonna be cool with ATC, and ATC is gonna share their beef with the Bloods as well. Now, we seen a high-profile murder over here in this area that they share off Bud Long and King, where 2 Hispanic brothers were gunned down in broad daylight back here. But like I said, ATC is sharing beef with the Harlems, with the Fruittowns in the 20s, and the Harpies. But some of their main enemies is gonna be across King, beefing with street villains in 18th Street.
Fuck a rat and them piggies in blue. And if you fucking with the enamigos, fuck you too. I've been at King Park, posted gang banging in some chucks. Gang unit passing by, we throwing up gang signs.
But other hoods Harlem has kind of leaned on throughout the years is right across Crenshaw. in the West Boulevards and the Midtown Mob schoolyard. Now, this Midtown West LA area could be somewhat of a confusing situation, especially within the last decade and a half with schoolyard, West Boulevard, and the 30s. We know at one point in the early 2000s and the 90s, schoolyard was beefing with all neighborhood Crips. They was on the fence about whether they was pushing the deuce or the tray, and they was beefing with the West Boulevards. Now, the West Boulevards have always been known to favor the deuce and favor neighborhood Crips, but the schoolyards did get along with the 30s through their trials and tribulations with the 6-0s, or like I've said previously, with all the neighborhoods, because I've seen the schoolyards diss and go at all neighborhoods from 40s to the 100s. And I've seen schoolyard and 30s kind of hash out differences with like rumbles and situations like that. And I know gunplay between each other. And we know Venice Showline has always been tight knit with the schoolyards.
Tell my mama, stop, take it, stop talking on me. She already said she's finna come, so she came up on the blitz. Stay still, you was talking, stop running from me. Don't lie, I already know I ain't your one and only. My nigga, bring that shit back, don't stop. Her baby thought he got chips, he said I'm up to get got.
So what we see today is the schoolyards have kind of dropped that all hood situation where some members pushing the deuce, some pushing the tray, and they fully gravitated towards this deuce time line because the show lines push the deuce heavy and the West Boulevards push the deuce. And this has kind of brought everything together between the show line, schoolyards, West Boulevards, and the 30s. But another alliance that the 30s has on the east side is with them hoods that's moving coast to coast. We know for a long time they've been tight-knit with the East Coast Crips, pushing Harlem coast. But they also push 430. 30, which is their alliance between 4-Pack Gangsters, which is 4 Deuce, 4 Trey, and 4-8 Gangsta Crip on the east side, which has led to their war with the 40 and the 5 Trey Avalons.
Had to blow a nigga down hill screaming out swoop. Me off the Rich all the 30s to the 100s, we don't group, but off the 436, so what the bonds wanna do? Niggas snitching on the case and testifying about the truth.
And that situation with the 4-Pack is already one that's been scrutinized by the Gangsta Crips for many years. But since the Harlems have really came closer, especially in today's times, to the neighborhood cripping, it seems like they've inherited the beef with the gangsters as well. So on the west side, they beefing with the 5-1 Troubles and the Hoovers. Now things kind of get into a circumstantial situation when it comes to the A-Trays in my eyes. Now, historically, I say circumstantial because I feel like the A-Trays and the Harlems running into each other, it's more like who tripping. But as we see recently, there has been situations with the A-Trays and the 4-Packs and the Avalon. So we see Matt North on Munchie B channel doing his interview, and that was a dope interview, by the way, man. Y'all make sure y'all go to Munchie B channel, check out his interview with Matt North. But we see Matt North address a situation that he vented about with the 4-Pack, basically saying the 4-Pack should just turn coast and take the Gangsta Crip off their name because they aren't traditional GCs and they beefing with the Avalons. And then we've seen Saint Face from A-Tray Gangsta say anybody that's beefing with the Avalons, specifically the 4-Pack, is beefing with the A-Tray Gangsters as well.
Hey, whoever beef with Avalon, beef with theirs.
Period. 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 That's the A-Tray say. Whoever beef with the A's, period.
And we just inherited this trader beef.
That's the seal. Fuck that. Fuck trader. Yeah. Fuck traders. That's what they is. Avalon Gangsta. Hey.
And we know the 30s and the 4-Pack is cool, and the 30s have beefed it with the Avalons. And that beef, I don't think has fully died out. Now the 40 Avalons is closer to the 30s because they right down King. And we know the 5 Trays are closer to South Park, main spot, 51st. But that is one Crip on Crip beef that the 30s do have. But the situation with the Hoovers, we've seen kind of go up over the years. Now there's some accounts saying that the Hoovers been beefing with the 30s since 85. Since around the break-off that happened between the neighborhoods and the gangsters, with people getting tighter with the 60s and others being tight with A-Tray. Now we know the Hoovers gravitated toward the Gangsta Crip side with the A-Trays, and the 30s being Rollin, they were automatically bundled in with the Rollin Coast and the O's and the East Coast. But it was alleged that the 30s kind of regained some sort of a relationship with the Hoovers when they fell out with the 40s, which we gonna speak on. But it said at that time there was a situation, and I don't know exactly how true this is. I'm not too familiar with this term, but there was a situation that was termed Harlem Halldale Hoop, which was an alliance between the Harlems, the Hoovers, and the 5-1 Troubles, who are on 51st and Halldale. But once the Harlems regained their relationship with the 40s, which was said to have been done at Tookie's funeral in 2006, we see by 2009, they was back in war with the Hoovers. Now we gotta rewind the clock back to June 27th, 2009 on 37. Now it said there was a house party that was cracking on 37, of course, in the middle of 30's hood, and the Dirt Gang was in attendance. An 18-year-old named Trayvon Braggs pulls up to the party, Now, Braggs is not from Harlem, but his pops is from Harlem. So he feels comfortable in the area. He's chilling. Now, at this time, Braggs bumps into somebody he knows from Harlem that he recognizes when they went to Hamilton, named Grady Montgomery, aka Infant Bucka T. Now, I'm gonna say Bucka T, and I'm gonna refer to this dude as Infant Buck from now on, because Bucka T is a derogatory term used against the Brims. But he said he knew Infant Buck from Hamilton, and they had previously had no problems. And of course, with his dad being from Harlem and Buck being from Harlem, usually you would expect to get a pass, even though you're not gangbanging and you in 30 hood. But we know a lot of times gangbanging does get out of hand. And it seemed like Buck disregarded the past meetings that he's had with Braggs and bangs on him anyways. Braggs said that he don't bang, but Buck accused him of, quote, being extra'd out in they hood. Now, it comes out later that Braggs, not necessarily a gang member, but at this time he's been associating with the 9 Deuce and 9-4 Hoovers. And he allegedly had an orange rag on 37th that night. Now, he admitted to also previously hanging out with the Biddy Stones, but he said that at this time he was known to associate with the H gang. So when Infant Buck banged on him, he say his daddy from the hood too. And Buck was with an older homie from Harlem who recognized Braggs and said he good, his pops from the hood. But it seemed like Buck wasn't trying to hear that and called Braggs out for the fade. So Braggs laced up and was ready to take his fade, and Infant Buck wanted him to walk down the street. He said he didn't want to walk all the way that far. Let's just get down right here. And this time Infant Buck turns around, gets within about 3 feet of Braggs, and starts letting off on him right there in front of the party. Now, Braggs ended up getting hit 7 times in the chest, his heart, his stomach, and his back. But luckily, he didn't lose his life in this situation, but he did become paralyzed as a result of this. Now, when Braggs was laid up in the hospital, he told police that he had took out an orange rag out of his pocket and wrapped it around his fist when he was about to fade. And this is when Infant Buck dissed the Hoovers and tried to take Braggs out for disrespecting his hood on 37. And further in the conversation, he ended up identifying Buck and the older homie who was with Buck as Dirt from 30s as the people that was there when they got down on him over here at the party. Now, it would seem like Braggs was also into some hood hopping. He said he was hanging with Biddy Stones and hanging with the Hoovers as well, pulling out the orange rag. So, you know, I do think it's messed up that the situation came to this, especially because his father is from their hood. Now, I don't know what type of member his father is, but it seems like there was no respect given to Braggs' dad being an older member from the hood, because Infant Buck was not an OG either. So I think it really should have resulted in the fade, but that just shows you where the Harlems and the Hoovers was lying in 2009. Now, since this point, we know, like I said, the Harlems have become even closer with other neighborhood sets. And recently we've seen situations when both of these dudes was outside between ASM Bopster and Treyway. We've seen some dissing back and forth. We've seen the Harlems dissing. We've seen some diss records. We know where the Hoovers lie in this.
Push up on the nigga, pop him up like what's poppin' with cuz. R.I.P. to Slowby, I'm in Stockton, I'm hanging with thugs. All them niggas poppin' tough, but they ain't poppin' enough. Fuck a ASM, bitch, I'm whacking my thumbs. I'm over tough, but they ain't poppin' enough. Fuck a ASM, bitch, I'm whacking my thumbs.
But that's not really heavily spoke about, especially because the 40s and the 50s are closer to the Troubles and the 5 Deuces. But we've seen the friction become very apparent when Bop went on No Jumper and he didn't do his interview with T-Rail, he did it with Adam.
Niggas say we scared for the type of shit we do to niggas. All the stuff you niggas got but never ever use it, nigga. Niggas gon' expose all you palm, they'll recruit niggas. Yeah, they go them trouble in them Hoover niggas.
But right before those instances between Treyway and Bop, we seen some back and forth gunplay and homicides between the 7-Foes and the Harlems. Now, this started on August 29, 2019, where it said that about 11 in the morning, a dude named Trayvon Winkler was on Flower and 75th in the 7-Foes. Now, more than likely, being on Flower, he was probably at a residential spot coming out of somebody's crib who he knew. And it said that 2 people approached him looking to rob him over here on 75th. Instead of robbing him, they ended up killing Winkler, who died on the sidewalk due to a gunshot wound in his chest. Now, as you can imagine, this sent the Harlems up. And it said that a few hours after Winkler was killed, they was holding a vigil for him at King Park. Now, in these times, King Park is going to be the main park for these dudes off of Western and 39th. And when the folks got over there, when that vigil was being held, they said they saw a group of dudes from Harlem yelling disses to the Hoovers. You know, really set on the fact that the 7-4 Hoovers was responsible for killing their homie. And it was alleged that BPS did go over to King Park and kick these candles over after the vigil, but the Harlems had their eyes set on getting back at the Hoovers. Now, you know that since this is going down, the hood is hot. Both of these hoods is hot. They know the Harlems was involved, so they patrolling the Harlems heavy, and they know what happened in the Hoovers. They know the H-Gang. They're going to be patrolling the Hoovers. Now, they already be patrolling Fig. Flower is right next to Fig. This area is already heavily patrolled. But on September 3rd, 4 days after this murder, the Harlems are said to be back up at King Park, devising somewhat of a plan. This is where they seen Frank Fisher, Liddell Hurd, and Kevin Green on surveillance moving around the park in a couple different whips. One of the whips they identified as a white Jeep Compass. Now, surveillance video also has the clothes these dudes are wearing as well. And these videos are from the cameras that's up at King Park. And this tape watched all three of these dudes get up into the Compass and slide off down 39th. Now, they made their way to about Hoover and Slauson, which is the borderline between the 5 Deuces and the 5-9 Hoovers. Now, I don't know if they tried to find somebody in the 50s, but they made their way closer to where their homie was killed and ended up on 76 and Fig in the 7-4s. Now, at this time, 2 dudes from 7-4 was walking to that portion market on 76. Alan Bowen and another dude who was named TB in the paperwork. It said when they went inside the liquor store, the dudes from 30s rolled past the store on 76. And at about 10:30, Alan Bowen comes outside the store and is waiting on TB to finish buying what he got. Now, it said as soon as Bowen come out the store, 2 dudes jump out the Jeep wearing hoodies, approach him, and bang on him outside the store. And it said that they yelled out Harlem and led off on Alan Bowen, killing him right outside this store on 76 and Fig. Now, at this time, TB said he ran out the store, yelled out Hoover, but ended up taking off to some of his people house down the street, where he told them that the Harlems killed Bowen. Now, it said Bowen got hit multiple times in his shoulder that went through his lungs and passed through his spine, another time in his back, and another one in his forearm. And everything was televised on surveillance, as well as the car. Now, the female that came forward as a witness in this case is the female who TB told that the Harlems did it. She gave police the statements on what was said, and they matched up the type of clothes that them dudes was wearing from the surveillance video at King Park to the surveillance on 76 and Flower. And this is what sold the 30s up in some back and forth murders between these two sections. So, you know, situations like this is still fresh and new. This war is still active, but there's always room for things to be fixed, like we seen between the Harlems and the 40s. Now, the Harlems and the 40s, of course, they've had relationships way before they was even beefing. Now, it said that dudes from Harlems that was living in the 40s actually started the 40s. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it said that dudes from 30s also started the 40s in San Diego. Now, y'all can go verify that with Hoodie Hood channel. Shout out to him as well, where he'll have some more backstory on that situation on how his hood started. But those are things that I've heard in regards to the inception of both LA and San Diego 40s. So it was love to begin with between the 30s and the 40s. But there's been accounts of there being friction between these hoods that started in about 96. Now, like I said, they cleaned this beef up in 2006 at Tookie's funeral. So there was about 10 years of beef between these two hoods. Now, one thing that I always remember growing up was the rumbles at the King parades with the 40s. Now, that's something that we all know about, but there has been murders on this side as well. We seen when S-Bone spoke about it on Street TV, rest in peace S-Bone. He said it really started off when the 30s paralyzed Big Four Extra from 40s. He said he was somewhat new to the hood, and the 30s ended up sitting him down. But I've also heard accounts that Big Four Extra got set down by his own homies over trying to rob somebody. Now, I'm not sure exactly what transpired with him, but of course, he's still breathing after them shots. But it was also said that the 30s was responsible for killing somebody named Murdoch and Lil Ant Dog from 40s. So this situation is what really kicked off the war between the 40s and the 30s. That again was fixed. So honestly, I'm gonna say anything's possible even after blood is shed. But like I spoke about on the east side, I have seen the Avalanche still whacking out the 30s. So there still is Crip on Crip beef with the Harlems. But we know the politics on the east side do get messy because the 8-7s and the 9-7s are also moving coast to coast. They are cool with the 4-pack, East Coast and Harlem, but they beefing with the main streets right now. And they have been for some time. But we know the main streets are cool with them West Side Rollins and them West Side neighborhoods. So I highly doubt that the Harlems are taking part of any of that with the main streets because of the 8-7s and 9-7s, kind of in a similar way that they beef with the Avalanche due to their relationship in the 430. But overall, like I said, this area has been heating up with the gunplay. Now, I'm not saying a specific hood that's really putting in work or really shooting people in this area, but for one reason or another, this area is cracking right now. But y'all make sure y'all like, comment.
I was out of mind for a minute.
That's it, y'all. Go comment, subscribe, and press the like button.